Hello, and welcome to another episode of Letters from Camp. Today, I am delighted to be joined by Matt Savage. For those who don't know, Matt Savage was an international staff member from England in 1989. Hello, Matt. How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. A bit hot and sweaty. It's been extremely hot over here and quite humid.
Yes, same here.
Hence the
Same
Hawaiian
here.
shirts.
Same here. But there's always, it's always good to jump into the Thorndike on a day like today.
Oh, definitely, yes. Yeah.
So we always like to start by getting people's kind of camp story, and obviously yours would look a little different, than most people. So why don't you kind of take us through kind of your experiences with any camps, you attended, and then how you kind of wound up at Wanocksett?
Well, scouting is a way of life, really. It's not just the camps. It's everything. I'm sure thousands of people would agree with that. I joined when I was a Cub Scout, as a Cub Scout, 8 years old, because friends across the road were in a pack, and they said, "Oh, come along." So I went along. Um, Been with it ever since. So, I'm now 65 now. So that's 57 years in scouting, an awful long time. Um, we don't have very many paid staff because you get paid to work at the camp, of course. I even got a little bit of cash as an international staff member, but technically I was a volunteer, so I had expenses, but the expenses were far more than I'd actually incurred, of course. Um, but yeah, so my first, I'll go a bit of a camp history, not always working, but as a youth member and as an adult. My first camp, 10 years old, as a scout. It was a patrol camp, so there were no adults on that camp. It was just the 16-year-old patrol leader and all his members. And we had a great weekend. We were supposed to have something called SAC Week, which was Special Activities at Chalfont. Now, that didn't happen because what happened is the scout campsite had actually been sold. So the headquarters, who was supposed to deliver the special activities, didn't deliver them, and nobody else substituted. So, but we still had a great time anyway. We did some pioneering. We built a bridge over a nice muddy pond and got the courage to go over it or get thrown in it, one of the two. That doesn't happen these days, of course. It's just, nobody's forced to do anything. But yeah, it was a great time was had. Came home from that weekend, tired, muddy, and then unpacking all my stuff, and I found I'd left my penknife out at the scout site. In those days, knives were just standard kit for all kids to carry to camp. So the following weekend, I decided I was going to go and retrieve my knife because I knew where I'd left it. So I got on my bike, bear in mind I'm only 10 years old, and I cycled to the campsite. I remembered the way that the bus had taken us, and it was a 16-mile cycle ride, 32 miles round trip. Cycled out there, went onto the site, went to where I'd left my knife. It was still there, picked it up, cycled all the way home. Parents said, "Oh my God, where have you been?" "Oh, I've cycled out to Chalfont." "You've been where?" So independence definitely teaches you a lot of independence, scouting. Anyway, on through life as a scout, going to various different camps, lots of greenfield camping. So no facilities, no toilets, in one case, not even a water supply. Had to bring all our water in from a tap 3 miles down the road. I went on through venture scouting, which was the aged 16 to 20, and I gained my Queen Scout Award. Very proud of that. Had to do lots of different things for that. I can say a little bit more about that later if you want me to. How did I find myself at Wanocksett or Wanocksett, as I called it once, and people said, no, you don't pronounce it like that. It's Wanocksett. So, when I was that young Cub Scout, someone came and talked to the Cub Pack about working on the International Camp Staff Program. And I thought, oh, that sounds interesting. And I remembered that, and I thought, should I ever get the opportunity to do that? I'm going to do that. I'm going to go and work in the States on a camp. And it was another 19 years before I actually got that opportunity. But I grasped it. It meant I had to resign from my job because they'd originally said, yes, you can have the time off. And then they said, no, nobody gets 6 weeks paid time off, even though I'd saved up leave for the last 3 years because I worked for an American company. And I was quite surprised that they said, no, you can't do it. So ended up, I was assigned to Wanocksett by BSE HQ. Those days it was still Nashua Valley Council. And I think I was sent to Wanocksett because I'm from the county of Middlesex in the UK, and Nashua Valley Council was in the county of Middlesex. Not sure if the site itself was, but yeah, there was a lot of common ground there. Came back from there, told all the people at home about what I've done. Subsequently, just this year, I stayed on as a leader. One of my fellow adult volunteers has been and worked at a campsite in Ohio, so they followed my example, and they spent the summer in Ohio, and they said, "Yeah, what a fantastic time! Love to do it again." Of course, I aged out, and it was my only opportunity because I only want to really be doing this as a young man up to about 30. I've been abroad with scouts elsewhere. I went to Germany with our district scout and guide band. We had a tour to a carnival in February. It was very cold, but it was very great hospitality. Very friendly. That wasn't although we were the scout and guide band. It was the local carnival society which arranged it all. I found myself as the interpreter for the trip because I'd learned German at school for 5 years, and this was in February 1990. So it's a fair time after I'd left school, but I was still able to speak German. I found myself as a interpreter with one of the guys who came with us, one of the other adult helpers. He was a fireman, and he wanted to go and see the local fire station, so he was taken there, and I went with him to translate. Discovered then that local fire station was entirely run by volunteers. It wasn't. There was no state money for it. It was all voluntary. Kind of ties in back to what happened at Wanocksett. And on the weekends, we used to get the 24 hours off, midday Saturday, midday Sunday. Had to do something. I went and stayed with the parents of one of the CITs at the time for that short period. Turns out that his father was a volunteer fireman, and that goes back to when I first arrived in the States in Boston. My flight had been delayed, and so I was 5 hours late. And the guy from the executive, Dave, can't remember his surname, Dave Wenzel, I think. He picked me up at the airport, and it was a Friday evening then, I think. And there was might have been a Saturday evening because there was a game on at, we came into Boston, Logan Airport. There was a game on at Fenway Park. And there was a hell of a lot of traffic around there. And he found, oh, damn it, he thought, I've accidentally gone the wrong way around the one-way system. So he was driving against the traffic. No problem, he said. I'll sort this out. He reached under his seat. He pulled out a magnetic red flashing beacon, put it on top of his car, flashed the beacon, turned the siren on, away we went. He was also a volunteer fireman, so he was able to circumnavigate the traffic and get me up to Camp Wanocksett. That was a bit of a culture shock, that really. Culture shock. The first morning we had breakfast in the local town in Dublin, in the cafe, and it's I really didn't know how extensive American breakfasts are. They're far more than even our famous full English. And the waitress, she said, "Do you want home fries with that?" I said, "Home fries? I've no idea what they are." And of course, out come what we would call chips, French fries. I just said, "I'll have the same as Dave. Whatever he's having, I'll have it because it's a." So, but yeah, so I've been Germany, done several international camps. This is all as a volunteer. In Jamborettes, the Haarlem Jamboree in the Netherlands. I did 8 of those. Gave that up recently, not going to the next one, didn't go to the last one. It was health really was the reasons why I kind of decided that no, I've had enough of this. So it's but yeah, it's certainly scouting opens doors, I would say. You get an opportunity, just grab it, grasp it with both hands. And that briefly is my scouting story and how I ended up at Wanocksett.
Excellent. So let's talk a little bit about that. So it's 1989. You're picked up at the airport. You're brought to camp. Tell us a little bit about that summer. Some of the experiences you had. Maybe kind of what areas you helped out in, and kind of what that summer was like.
Yeah, well, I was assigned as Provost Scout Master and International Counsellor. And I found among my duties was just walking around the site. I always remember the program director saying to us, all the staff, we had the first staff meeting, and it was, if you're just walking along the trail, doesn't matter where you're going, you see a scout, just say, "Hi, Scout." And if you don't know who they are, just say, "Hi, Scout." Be friendly. It worked. It forced, I was quite a shy person, but I'd done this intentionally to force me to get over shyness, really, and be able to approach strangers and just say, "Hi, I'm Matt. How are you? How are you doing? What are you up to?" So, yeah, as the Provost Scoutmaster, it was the scouts that chose what activities they wanted to do. I just had to ensure they got there at the right time, the right place. But I also got to have a bit of fun. Did some of the activities with them on the shooting range, which I see has just recently been fully upgraded. I recall we also had the camp inspection team from National come in and do it, and I was elsewhere on the site at the time, and all staff got this urgent call, any staff who weren't involved in anything, to go to the shooting range. We had to clear the butts at the back of stones. They said there's too many stones in that earth bank. You can get ricochets off them. So we said we could shut the camp down because of that. So, but we'll give you a chance. You've got 4 hours to clear it. We'll come back and reinspect, and if we're happy, fine, carry on. So yeah, that's we had a great time. Hard work pulling all the stones out of the earth bank, so we didn't get any ricochets. But as well as that camp inspection, I remember it well because I was up at 6 in the morning, gone to take a shower. Camp inspection team walks in while I'm in the shower, measuring the temperature of the water. "Oh, hi guys, no worries. Yeah, we just I didn't realise at the time what they were up to, but they explained afterwards this is what they're doing, and they were looking at all the areas. But yeah, I remember the things do sometimes go wrong as well. I remember going to the mess hall, and we had the family style dining, big bowls of salad on the table, help yourself. But there weren't any salad tongs, so it was literally hands were going into these bowls of salad. Following day, I think this was probably the first or second week when we had campers there. They had about 100 cases of strep throat, and they had the local environmental health officer come onto the site to inspect and say what's gone wrong. And the thing that struck me about was that that environmental health. Now we think of in England, our environmental health officers, they don't walk around with pistols on their sides. So he was carrying a sidearm. Now he had to check it in at the camp centre. He couldn't keep walking around with it. But yeah, so I was quite surprised at that. So, oh, Rami, you're only here to see what's wrong with the health. But basically, they tracked down the strep cases to the that non-use of tongs for the salad. So you can't just dive in with your fingers. So there was a quick change there, and everything was all hunky dory after that. Apart from me getting sick, but that was towards the end of my 5 weeks there. I'd been doing my inspections of the sites because one of the things I did was responsible for judging and awarding the Golden Broom, which I gather is still awarded for the best kept site. And one of the sites there, the leader, I can't recall his name. He'll probably come back to me when we're finished. He was very fond of telling me about the history of the United States. And every day he used to have a different United States flag on his site and a historical range of things. Anyway, I'd gone to inspect his site one morning and he's talking to me. And I kind of zoned out and I just didn't realise what he was saying. He said, "Oh, sit down, sit down." Apparently, I just flaked right out, and he went off, and I ended up getting picked up in Ranger Jack's truck. Said I was sick on the trail, and they carted me off to Wanocksett County Hospital, where I was in there. I think I was a couple of nights in there. They did an MRI scan, and they diagnosed me as epileptic, which was somewhat of a surprise. When I was a young child, I had juvenile epilepsy, and suddenly this had suddenly come back. Now, unfortunately, I mean, that wasn't the end of working at Wanocksett, but it was the end of my attempt at the mile swim. Decided, no, it's not so safe, because I'd been training for that, building up to it. Swim early morning, increase the distance a little each time, and as long with all the kids that were going to do it, the scouts, staff also had the opportunity to do it. But they just said, no, sorry, it's just not safe for you to do that, which was fine. It was unfortunate because I would have loved to have swum that mile out to the island in the pond and back again. But Waterfront was a very nice place, actually. They didn't have as many activities as you have now. They had sailboats, a few canoes. That was pretty much it, and swimming. But they also had the water polo with a greased watermelon. Now, that was fun. I don't know if you still do that, but I remember that. It was a staff versus CIT's part of the match where and the winning team got to eat the watermelon. Yeah, it was certainly fun. What else did I like? Shooting. I like the shooting. As I'd already mentioned, I've been there. Wasn't only because in the UK, Scouts, we only get to shoot 177 air rifles or shotguns. But of course, you guys were doing 2.2s, live ammunition. It was interesting, and I saw a demonstration of black powder as well. They wouldn't allow us to shoot it ourselves, but a demonstration, the muzzle loading guns, and this guy had a genuine Civil War musket. I thought, wow, that is interesting. So, well, where do I go from there? There was the sports, the basketball side as well. The muck walk. I like the muck walk. I'm not really sure what the purpose of it was, other than to get muddy. These days, it would be more environmentally focused, I guess, and saying, "Oh, look at what we got here! All this diversity of creepy crawlies and things like that." And on one of the 24 hours off, I got to walk up Monadnock, up to the top and down again. That was a great bit of fun. 4th of July happened to be a Saturday when I was there. So that weekend we went to Wilmington, and I had what I would just call small town celebrations, a stage up with the flags and banners all over it, bands playing, country music. I thought, yeah, this isn't really sort of northeast New England, America, is it? But yeah, it was interesting nonetheless. And another one of the weekends off, one of the other members of staff said, I think there were 4 international members of staff there. One of them said, "Oh, I've got some friends who are working at another site just down the road, and they've invited us out for the Saturday night out to a local nightclub that was there. Can we borrow a car?" So yeah, we borrowed the program director's car, which was a stick shift. I got to drive it because nobody else had driven a stick shift. It's a bit unusual driving on the right, especially when I pulled out the site and got on the local back roads, and I said, right. I said, what? Turn right? I said, no, drive on the right. So there was nothing else around, and once we got onto the interstates and things, it was quite funny. But this campsite just down the road happened to be 300 miles away. We just don't have that concept of these long distances. But it was a good night out we had there, and came back the following morning, got back to... We were always told in no uncertain terms, don't be late, you must be back for midday Sunday. So yeah, we got back for midday Sunday, rather jaded, of course, because we'd had a night out. And it was good bit of fun.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like several of the things you mentioned are still camp traditions: mile swim, the muck walk, golden broom, all of those type of things. We do have a salad bar now, so there's no more passing around the salad bowl and passing along strep throat, so that's good. But it's interesting that so many of the things, like even back in 1989, are still happening today, and were started back in this kind of era of camp, which is great. So, obviously, most scouts, in America know that scouting got its start in England with Lord Baden-Powell and things like that. But for those who may not be as familiar, what are maybe some of the program differences that, between kind of scouts in England and scouting in America?
Well, we're not really so focused on what you call merit badges. We call them activity awards. We just provide activities, and if they happen to earn a badge for it, that's just fine. But the main difference really is the age ranges, because we have a split in Scouts. Scouts are aged 10 to 14, and then they have Explorer Scouts, 14 to 18. And beyond that now as well, they have Scout Network, which is 18 to 25. The top award that you can earn in as a youth member in Scouting is the Queen Scout Award, which I was quite pleased to earn. It took a lot of work. I did For that, I did everything from just hikes and expeditions to I actually did some voluntary work in a prison, teaching inmates in a prison to play the trumpet. And that was arranged through a member of the Salvation Army when I was at university. Because I kept up scouting when I was at university, away from home, and there was I wasn't studying music at the university, but there was this opportunity. He said, "Oh, you can get some free music lessons." Oh, great! Yeah, I'll carry on playing the trumpet then. And the guy said, "Yeah, in return for which we expect you to do some volunteer work." So I used to go into this prison but it was a great feeling knowing that I would be getting out of that prison again. Big iron gates clanging shut behind me, but no, I'm not stuck here. You know, these poor other people are. But it was I subsequently found out that most of the people that were prisoners here were category B, which is quite high. And they were actually all convicted of murder, but usually a crime of passion, not not an indiscriminate. They haven't robbed a bank and shot someone. They'd murdered a partner for whatever reason. But Anyway, back to the scouting points. It's the age range is the big difference in the program, and as I said, we don't really have that focus on. We don't have ranks as such. So we get appointments and roles. You get patrol leaders, assistant patrol leaders, not really a quartermaster. That's done centrally by adults in the group. But otherwise, it's all basically the same. The scouts decide what activities they want to do. And provided it's legal and we have the resources, we will arrange it for them. That's what we're there for as the adult volunteers, to say, yeah, you can do that, or sorry, no, you can't do that. Because one of the interesting ones is we're not allowed to do banana boats being towed on inflatables. There aren't very many things that are forbidden in UK scouting, but that is one of them. But I see you do that on Thorndyke Pond now. But that would then our rules apply anywhere in the world. So if I was to be on the camp staff program now, I wouldn't be allowed to do banana boating, even though it's fully sanctioned by Scouting America. Our rules say, no, you can't do that. You're not allowed to. Because our insurance basically says, no, you can't do it. So, unfortunately. But yeah, so difficult to say, really. But it's youth-driven. It's youth-led. They say, yeah, we want to do this, and yeah, we can. It's simple things. The most recent one we had, we just did a visit to a cinema in our scorching heat here, but fortunately the cinema was air-conditioned. So went to see Toy Story 5. But they were quite happy with that. You wouldn't have thought that's a midsummer activity, but yeah, it worked out just great.
And so it sounds like you're still involved in the program today.
I am, yes, yeah. I didn't really have any time off from it at all. You know, so carried on when I was at university, linked up with the local group there as well. And I was just for a couple of years in my early 20s. I was just a hanger-on. I didn't have any formal role. Until somebody said, well, actually, you got your Queen Scout Award. You really should be doing something more formal. And I had a proper interview with our then district commissioner. I said, yeah, no, you've got all these skills. Please help and come back as a leader and pass on those skills. And I've been doing that quite happily ever since.
That's awesome. That's amazing. That's a very long career. I like that.
Yeah, well, whitewater kayaking was my speciality.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
All right, so let's move into our lightning round with the same questions we ask all our guests. So first, what is your favorite camp song?
Right. I think I'll have to sing this one for you because I don't know if the language might be a little different in the States, but it goes, when I was a wee tot, they took me from my wee cot. They put me on my wee pot to see if I would wee or not. When they found that I would not, they took me from my wee pot. They put me on my wee cot, and then I gave it all I got. When I was a Cub Scout in my prime, I used to wee all the time. Now I'm a Scouter old and grey. I only wee once a day.
It's a good one. I have not heard that before. That's a good one. How about your favorite camp skit?
Yeah, I don't like anything that humiliates anybody. And obviously you guys don't do hazing at all. But the one I like that I think I might have seen it done at Wanocksett as well as here in the UK is where you get you're effectively running a flight simulator. You have a bench and you have six scouts holding the bench, and you get one volunteer scout uh, standing on the bench wearing a blindfold. And you get to make them think they're flying. What they have seen is they've seen this bench lifted high in the air with someone standing on it safely, because they get to put their hands on the shoulders of the people supporting the bench. And then you go through this simulation of a flight where you tilt the bench to give them a sensation of climbing. You tilt it down to give a sense of going down. You say, oh, no, 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 it's going to crash. Now, what's happened there is you haven't actually lifted the bench up. What's happened is the guy on the bench has got his hands on the shoulders of the people that were lifting up in the air, and they've now crouched down on their knees. So he thinks he's gone up, but the people surrounding have gone down. And you drop the bench probably an inch onto the ground. Clunk, they think oh no, crashed from a great height. Leap off, but they've leapt off from this height where they aren't really very high at all.
I've not seen that one. That sounds interesting though. So it obviously was a long time ago, but did you have a favorite camp meal?
Favorite area? I think that was where you're asking. Well, it was all a great favorite, but probably the waterfront, I think, was the best of all.
Yep. How about a favorite meal?
Ah, yeah, the Wednesday night cookout when the parents came along as well. Now that was always brilliant. Get to talk to the parents. For the parent, that was parents for that's parents for the week for children that were there, but also parents coming for the following week to see what the program was going to be like. So yeah, that was certainly very interesting. I got a bit of a disciplinary, I suppose you want to say, because I missed one of those Wednesday nights. Basically, I've gone back to my cabin because I didn't have to sleep in a tent. Fortunately, as the Provost Scoutmaster, I was in the cabins in the forest. But I fell asleep and didn't get back, and that was a bit of a precursor actually to my being sick on the trail, really. So it was, but yeah, it was. That was the best meal, definitely the best.
Gotcha. And was there anyone who kind of made a big impact on you that you want to give a shout out to, or anyone who you met during that summer?
There's a few names that I remember. Jeff D. Oh God, he's the only one whose name that I particularly remember. There was Frank Taylor. I went off and stayed with his parents when I was on the weekends off. I don't think he's involved anymore. Obviously, there was the program director Tim. I can't recall his first name either. The waterfront director Dan Soames. He was a great help as well. Did like Dan. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, Dan was one of the victims of strep throat, but it was only a 24-hour thing. Send home 24 hours, come back, it's absolutely fine. So, but yeah, those are the ones from the camp. In my personal life, my parents kept a letter from my Cub Scout leader, which said, although I didn't have an armful of badges like most Cub Scouts, because I had issues with coordination and being able to throw and catch a ball and things like that. And she wrote in this letter that I had stickability. And this Cub Scout leader was absolutely convinced that I go on to great things, and that, I took that as an inspiration. When parents told me about this, I thought, I am going to get my Queen Scout Award, and I am going to go and work in America, which I'd just heard about. So, absolutely brilliant. That was Joyce Griffiths, and somewhere hidden away in the family papers, I've still got that letter.
Excellent. That's awesome. Well, Dan Soames and Jeff D both went on to be camp directors at Wanocksett. So that pretty much covered 96 to 2005 with both of them running things. So they definitely did their time as well. All right. So let's wrap things up. I definitely want to thank you for your time, and it was great hearing kind of about your experience in that summer. So thank you very much for joining us.
No problem, Mike. Thanks for the call. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah. And to all our viewers, make sure you like and subscribe and tune in every month for our episodes of Letters from Camp.